What's up, everybody? My name is Quentin Tarantino, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys like scary stories, because we're in for a few tonight. Let me set the mood. I'll let you guys grab a cold one or maybe a popcorn or something, and we'll get right into the stories. So I guess we need a little bit of background. This happened in South Lake Tahoe at a dormitory that's meant for training firefighters, wildland firefighters specifically. And it happened in two separate rooms of the same building. Now, a little bit of background. Before, this was a dormitory to house wildland firefighters in training and people of the sort. You know, it also houses people that are training for other fields of work within the federal federal parks and services and Forest Service kind of job opportunities. I chose the fire route because you get a direct in with a fire crew. Basically, due to training, you're training alongside a fire crew, blah, blah, blah. You get right into the, easy way in, essentially, especially for such an impacted field. And, there's no easy way in, but it's kind of like a streamlined way in is probably an easy way to put it, because I'm not a Nepo baby. I wasn't like, Daddy, are you a firefighter? Can I just be in your crew? Because my parents weren't firefighters, so none of my family was. Besides the point. So the way it worked was these dormitories were split up into roommates, right? You have the first section of your training in which you'll spend about 2 weeks to a month in a bigger room with more people to kind of get you acclimated to just living with different people in case you haven't been used to living with different people before, which is common. And it's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's not that bad, especially when everybody's new and everybody's got some extra money and let's get some takeout and let's do this and let's do that. It's cool. It's whatever. But that's the first room I was in, and then you get moved to a secondary room where instead of like 6 people you're staying with, it's only 1 to 2 besides yourself. So it's a lot more manageable. But I had experiences in both of these rooms that I stayed in. The first one happened on a Saturday morning. Actually, you know what? It might have been a Friday morning because I believe we worked 410s at the time. But either way, it was a weekend morning. I went to bed at a unusual time for myself. Usually I don't go to bed as early as I did that night. That night I went to bed probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Which, is especially at the time was very unusual for me, right? And that's not really the concerning part. The way it worked was the room was kind of like, here's the main room, and there's a little extra room right here that you can just walk into, and there's 2 bunk beds in this extra room, and then the 3 beds on the outside room. And the outside room is actually set up a lot more like the regular rooms, where you would only have 1 to 2 roommates versus the bigger room, right? And so now at this point, it's only myself, my best friend, and another person that we're still relatively close with, good guy, Alex. Because everybody had started getting moved into their permanent rooms or semi-permanent rooms from there. But Alex, Wyatt, and myself, we were just stuck there waiting for each of us to get assigned a room. Wyatt and I knew that we were going to wait longer than Alex because we had requested to stay in the same room together. Causes a little bit more work for them, but it is what it is. Do your fucking job. But anyways, so I was originally in the little alcove room with the bunk beds, but then once everybody moved, I was like, I might as well go out to the main part of the room and just sleep out there, because I'd rather not just be isolated by myself in here. And not even like I was scared, because nothing had happened yet. It was just more like, I just want to feel the camaraderie, and I'll put myself in a bed over here. There was 1 single bed left, so I took it, obviously. There was 1 bunk bed and then another single bed. The bunk bed was occupied by Alex. The other single bed was occupied by Wyatt. So I took the bed that was against, so again, square, right? Square. My bed was against this wall that kind of goes into that other room. The way I laid on this bed was feet facing a back door. Now, this back door was all glass except for obviously the frame. And then there was a big glass window right next to it. And we always left the blinds open. because this facility was pretty fucking secure, right? It wasn't the most secure, like it's not a prison or a military base, but for what it was, decently secure. Decently secure. I can't complain. But the problem in lies with we left the blinds open. And so now mark the time I wake up. Like I said, I went to bed around 9 or 10. Again, a little unusual for me, especially around that time when I'm 18, 19, 20 maybe. And I wake up. I wake up without an alarm, nothing. And I just like, and I know the time because the first thing I do is I kind of like roll over and I like fumble for my phone. I find my phone and I look at it. It says 3 a.m. on the dot. 3 a.m. on the dot. I don't think anything of it. Not at all. Don't give a fuck. Now, for some of those that have watched plenty of scary movies and are kind of into the occult, what is 3 a.m.? It's called the witching hour. So I stay on my phone for about, it was longer than 5 minutes, but no more than 10. I mean, no less than 5, but no more than 10. Because I don't remember exactly what it was, but it hadn't broken into the 10 threshold of like 310, 311, 312, things like that. So it was in between 305 and 310. When I'm like, and I know because like I'm like, I kind of like glance at the time, but I don't see the 1 in front of the next number. I see the 0 and then whatever number it is. I just can't remember that off the top of my head. Because I doom scrolled a little bit, scrolling. And like, I don't know why, but I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye. So I kind of like look up towards the window that's at my feet. And I'm like, nah, it can't be. No way. No way. Because I thought that I had saw what looked like the outline of a person, right? But there was still enough ambient light that if it was a person, I would have made out more details, right? So my immediate logical thought is, oh, we're on like the second floor. There's pillars holding up the building, the columns holding up the building. We have a balcony right outside. What that is the shadow being illuminated from the moonlight onto the beam, and it's just making a weird shadow, nothing to fucking worry about. Right when I have I wish it was like a fucking movie. It's like I said it out loud. Because right after that thought completes itself, a light from the highway, like a car light, because we were close enough to the freeway or highway, whichever it was, that traffic lights as they rounded a corner, or traffic lights, headlights as they rounded a corner, would illuminate the balcony a little bit. Not a whole lot, but enough to where it's like you're going to see a little more detail upon the balcony. And that's when it clicks. That's not a shadow of a column. That is a shadow person, shadow of a person, because it is the outline, dark shape of a human being with no features. No, you couldn't make out a shirt. It almost looked like it was there was no protrusions, extrusions, intrusions like you would see on a human body. It was flat. And that's when I said, I was, again, facing the window, kind of like on my back, and that's when I slowly turned in my bed, faced the wall, and went to sleep like I did not see a fucking thing. Because one thing I fucking learned about from horror movies, you act like you didn't see a fucking thing, and nothing bad happens to you. Shocker. Nothing bad happened to me. Shocker. But I was terrified. I don't know how I was able to go to sleep as quickly as I did, because I can tell you I was asleep within 5-10 minutes. I was like, just act like it's not there, just act like it's not there. And don't know how, but I did it. And that was terrifying, because I had heard things in the past, and I thought I had experienced things before this. But before this, I had no, it was an auditory hallucination. It was like, it was just like the house settling, AC, dishwasher. I could make up things. My eyes have never deceived me. I might wear prescription sunglasses. I might wear prescription glasses. But I don't wear them 24/7 like I'm prescribed because I don't necessarily need them. I can shoot just fine without my fucking glasses. I can drive just fine without my glasses. I can read, do work, do everything just fine without my glasses. I just have astigmatism. Blah, blah, blah. Besides the point. My eyes have never fucking deceived me. So my ears, 100%. 100% my ears have deceived me. My eyes have never deceived me. So when I saw that, I knew it is time to turn around, act like I didn't see a fucking thing, and go to sleep. And nothing happened. We got out of that room within a week. And oh my God. Praise the Lord, because Jesus Christ. That was terrifying. Now on to the second. I want to say it was about 4 months later. We're in our new room. We're now a floor above because we were on the second floor. I said we're second or third floor. I remember now we're on the second floor for our training room. We moved to our semi-permanent room on the third floor. Now, little did I know, it comes after the fact, that apparently this room we moved to had the most negative energy in the whole place. I forgot to mention this, by the way. Do you want to know what it was before it was a dormitory for the likes of us? It was a hotel and then an old people's home. And then it was occupied by us. What happens at hotels and old people homes? You know what I mean? Like a lot of bad shit happens there. So a lot of negative energy is stored there. Which at this point, like, I don't know how else to describe what the fuck I saw besides negative energy. I don't know, man. But anyways, we're in this new room that, after the fact, I learned was the most negative haunted room in the fucking building. So it was actually only Wyatt and myself at this point. Our other roommate had already left or moved out of the rooms or whatever it was that he did. Why ever he wasn't staying with us. I forgot. Fuck Aaron Stockfish. He's a bitch. Don't care. I'm sorry, Storkfish. I apologize. You're not as bad as fucking, what was his name? What was the guy's name that got fucking triggered that we called him like a McMuffin. Dylan McMuffin. You're the actual bitch. Anyways. That doesn't matter. None of that matters. I might cut that. I might leave it in. Probably gonna leave it in. Gotta fuck him. But either way, I'm sorry. Either way, I was the only one in the room at the time. I was actually cleaning the room because I just had free time. My best friend Wyatt was finishing up his high school diploma. He was going to a charter school because he dropped out of high school, and that was part of the program's details. Is if you didn't have a high school diploma and you want to streamline into being a wildland firefighter, you need a high school diploma. So they would get you that as long as you worked at it and did everything you needed to do, you were fine. And he fucking blew through that shit. I remember I thought he was going to be in school for forever, but he blew through it in a couple months, so it was A1. He was only missing, I think it was 15 credits or something, so it wasn't anything big. But yeah, so he was out at school, so I have some time to myself, and I think, I'm going to clean before I go smoke for the day. I want to clean up my room before I get lazy. And I was cleaning up. I was reorganizing my wardrobe and reorganizing the stuff under my bed, I was reorganizing the table we had in the room, just, doing everything that I could that was of my space in our shared space. And some of the shared space, obviously, because might as well, but I wasn't touching my friend's side of the room. And one thing that I had noticed in this room was that things seemed to just randomly fall. And I always chalked it up to maybe I just left the stuff on the edge of a table and it tipped over, or things like that where I just wasn't paying attention and that's why it fell, or I didn't push it far enough back into wherever it should have been on the wardrobe and it fell out, whatever the case. Things were always falling in this room, and I just chalked it up to my own kind of just dumbassery. And I'm cleaning the room, and I notice a book on my bed that's kind of towards the edge of the bed. It's not it's 15% hanging off the edge. So it's not really a concern, but I'm also like, well, I'm sure it's stuff like this is the reason shit has been falling. So let me just move it. So I pick up the book. I physically pick the book up, place it in the middle of my bed. Then I'm like, I'm going to go clean the bathroom real quick. I go to turn the corner to head to the bathroom. And I hear, and I'm like, there is no fucking way that book just fell on the fucking floor. There's no fucking way. There's no way. It had to have been something from my wardrobe or something from the table or something from Wyatt's side of the room, something. But there's no fucking way that book that I just moved to the center of the bed is the fucking item I'm going to see on the floor when I turn this corner again. Sure enough, I turn that fucking corner and what's on the floor? That fucking book I just moved. I 360'd and left the room for the night. I said, that's it. I went out and smoked and stayed in another friend's room for the night because I was not dealing with that shit. And later I talked to another guy from the center and, I'm like, hey, like, you used to stay in that room, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I explained to him exactly what I just explained to you. And he said, yeah, man, I actually saw like a full body apparition, like clothes and all in that room. And he like walked out and I never saw him again. And then he hits me with this. Do you happen to find quarters in between your toilet's water well and like the seat? And I think about it. And I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I find quarters there all the time. And he just goes, and then like is like, yeah, have a fun time, and walks away. And then I start thinking about it. The whole time I've stayed in this fucking room, every time I go to the restroom, there's a quarter in between the water basin of the toilet and the seat. Now, if I were to sit down on the toilet, even with my pants up, if stuff were to fall in my pockets, they'd fall on the sides of the toilet. They wouldn't fall directly behind me. Me and my roommate didn't leave stuff on the top of the water basin when we took showers. As, gay as it might sound, yeah, I'd walk in when he was showering and brush my teeth if we're getting ready in the fucking morning. As long as I'd be like, hey, I'm in here, don't fucking step out. It's a shared bathroom. Sometimes, especially when you're literally basically firefighters, brothers, you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, we were literally already best friends before that. So like, we already had a connection that most people aren't gonna have. No homo, pause. But like, so like, I knew that we didn't set stuff on. If we set stuff anywhere, it was on the sink. Both of us, we set stuff on the sink. And so I was like, how the fuck does Albert know that? How the fuck does he know that? For 3 weeks straight, I made sure that the doors were locked. Both when I came in and when my roommate came in, because my roommate sometimes wouldn't lock the front door. So I always made sure it was locked just to be sure. And what do you know? What do you think I found every other day on that toilet? Some fucking quarters. Ain't that about a bunch of shit? Like, but either way, I figure I'd give you guys a little bit of a lighthearted kind of insight on some of the experiences I've had. Those are really the only two big paranormal experiences I've had. I've had one experience with a UFO. Nothing too big, but I probably can make a little story about it if you guys want to hear it. There definitely is a little 5-minute little thing about it if you guys want to hear it, but I'm not going to go into it right now. I do have to continue filming my other video. But thank you guys for stopping in. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, drop a like, maybe sub, or don't. Leave a comment. Tell me how fucking stupid I am. Doesn't matter. Interaction is interaction. I love y'all. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And together we move mountains.